First of all, we need to do the roll call.
Bonnet,
Aye.
Burnett,
Here.
Burry,
Here.
Flaherty,
Here.
Fisher,
Here.
Gansky,
Here.
Hiley. Here. Hill,
Here.
Wilson,
Present.
Perkins,
Here.
Wild. Here. Yads,
Here.
Sapp.
Here.
Now we will all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silent deliberation.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And next we will have our informal public hearing. This means that anyone either in attendance live or online can speak to council. So if there is anyone who would like an opportunity to speak to their elected representatives, now is that time. And for the third time, if there's anyone who would like to speak to council, this is that moment. So seeing no one, we will move on to announcements. Anyone have any announcements that they would like to share? The only announcement I have, and it could take a very long time, but I'll make it short, is we have a expanded, exciting Downtown Fall Fest this coming Saturday. There is something for everyone, starting at 8 o'clock in the morning with the farmers market and the fun run, and running all the way through to 11 o'clock at night with the monster bar crawl and many, many things in between. So take an opportunity, head on downtown. Probably the most exciting time will be between 1 and 1:30 when the grand procession begins and the casket races get started and the inflatable races begin and all kinds of good stuff. So there's activities on Front Street, there's activities on South Spring Street, there's trick-or-treating throughout businesses in the entire downtown area. So come on down for a brief time or a long time and enjoy. Last year we had over 7,000 visitors come and enjoy Fall Fest. So that's my announcement. Any others? Okay, next up, we have the disposition of the minutes of our last meeting on October 6th. Can I get a motion? Alder Burnett?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as written.
Thank you. And a second?
Seconded.
Thank you, Alder Flaherty. Any additions or corrections? Okay, all those in favor of accepting the minutes as printed in your packet, so signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So the minutes carry. Next up, our city administrator report.
Well, I'm still getting settled in, still making some progress. The mayor invited me to join her on. Thank you. Like I said, I'm still learning. This morning, the mayor invited me to join her on her radio show, and that went really well. So I appreciate the invite. I'm still meeting with elected officials and department heads. So I anticipate wrapping that up probably in the next 2 weeks or so. So I appreciate everybody offering me their time and helping to teach me about Beaver Dam. So I think I'm on day 33 or 34. So I'm ready to go. That's all I have. I'm pretty quick tonight.
Thank you very much. And how about communications?
We have one communication this evening, dated October 1st, 2025. Dear Mayor Mark and Administrator Berkey, please accept this letter as formal notification that I am retiring from my position as Parks, Forestry, and Facilities Supervisor / Weed Commissioner at the City of Beaver Dam. My last day in the office will be December 30th, 2025, and I have unused vacation that will carry me into the middle of January 2026. I'm deeply grateful that I have had the privilege of working for the City of Beaver Dam, starting as a paid-on-call firefighter on March 6, 1993 to April 1st, 2019, retiring with the rank of lieutenant, and with the Parks and Forestry Department starting on October 1st, 1997 to present, working as the supervisor since 2004. I have truly valued the opportunities for professional growth, working with a supportive team and council, and the valuable experiences I have gained during my tenure, whether it was the challenging times of mitigating floodwaters in 2004 and 2008, battling emerald ash borer, or to seeing the smiling faces of children and adults after we open a new playground, splash pad, or tennis/pickleball court. Working with and training a countless number of seasonal employees, teaching many of them life lessons as it was their first job, and watching them move on to other ventures, with some of them becoming full-time staff members. I am committed to ensuring a smooth transition during my remaining time and have been working diligently on preparing my staff to be the best they can be. I look forward to seeing projects we have started come to reality, such as Swan Park, the Tahoe Building, Crystal Lake, and Edgewater Parks. Thank you once again, and I wish the City of Beaver Dam Parks, Forestry, and Facility Maintenance Department continued success in the city I call home. Sincerely, John D. Newman.
Thank you, Tracy, and I see Mr. Newman is here in the audience. I just want to comment that while this was not a surprise, several people have told me for a while now that they were worried about John retiring soon. So I was not surprised when we received the letter, but I do know that there are a lot of unhappy recipients of that news. And I do want to reassure you that John has been involved in talking about a transition and getting someone in place. So we have a little time before he leaves, but until then, we will be appreciating him for these next few months while we still have him. So thank you, Tracy. Okay, next up, we have approval of the bills from October 3rd to October 16th in the amount of $1,464,580.26. Can I get a motion? Alder Zopp,
I'll make a motion to approve the bills.
thank you. And a second, Alder Gansky,
Second.
thank you. Any questions, comments about the bills that were listed in your packet? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the bills, so signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So the bills will be paid. Very good. On to ordinances.
Ordinance number 6-2025, an ordinance amending section 62-50, parking restrictions of the Beaver Dam Municipal Code, East Burnett Street to McKinley to US Highway 151, this is a second reading.
Okay, Todd, do you want to speak to this one?
All right. So like it was intro, this ordinance is amending parking restrictions in ordinance. As far as outline tonight for the to walk us through this, we got considerations, the recommendation, and our next steps. Considerations, the the ordinance under review tonight is for East Burnett Street from McKinley Street to east to 151. What that looks like today is a 30-foot wide street. It's got two travel lanes with some narrow paved shoulders. What staff has been seeing and what the school district's been seeing is an on-street parking issue, mainly during baseball and softball events over spring and summer, where we have vehicles parked down that entire roadway on both sides. Half the car sits on the pavement, half the car's on the grass. You have a lot of people darting in and out of traffic. Big safety issue, and then we have the grass maintenance left behind with tire ruts and all that. This is just a street view of what the road looks like. You can see the two travel lanes, the two narrow paved shoulders. As far as the recommendation, city staff, along with the school district, are recommending that we do restrict parking on both sides due to the safety issue that's created, along with the grass maintenance. I also had a call today from the resident at 510 East Burnett, and they are in full support of the ordinance also, as they see the safety issues out there also. This is a map of what it would look like. McKinley Street's here on the left, Highway 151 on the right. The yellow area is what would be restricted for parking. As far as the recommendation, we brought this before ops on September 8th. It did receive unanimous approval at the time. As far as next steps, we had our first reading last council meeting. We're obviously here for a second reading tonight, along with the public hearing and then council adoption.
Okay, why don't I get a motion in a second and then we can discuss. Alder Wild,
Make a motion to accept the ordinance as written.
thank you. And a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Burnett. Questions, comments?
So I'm very close to this. It's not my district actually, but I've been keeping an eye on that area just because I was concerned. I have elderly parents that love to go to baseball and softball, and I was very concerned with how people would get to the actual fields. What I've noticed now is a grand sidewalk has been placed off of McKinley, so it appears that they're having traffic would make you park more towards like the McKinley and those off streets down there instead of on Burnett, and that there would be a nice walkway to the those new 4 complexes that they'll have down there. So I think this is, I was worried where the traffic would then flow and how people would get, because the thought process at first was people were going to park in the building off of Burnett. What is it called?
The school district,
school
yeah,
district,
the ESC.
People cross
Yeah.
the street, and then I'm like, well, then they have to walk across grass. But it appears what they would have you be doing is more parking down where the tennis courts are and then off of those side streets, and a nice sidewalk has been built. So just as an FYI for people that are that was my concern. Why are we gonna have people park in that parking lot and then cross the street and then walk on grass and uneven, and that can get a little wompy for some people that can't physically walk to those fields.
Yeah, and this is just a thought, but maybe with some monitoring, if there still is an issue, the city or the district owns that parking lot. They could easily just put a chain across both driveways with a sign saying, please park at the lower parking lot.
I do think though that with them building that sidewalk, it gives everyone a safe place to cross the street and still be on a sidewalk and get to the complexes instead of walking on grass.
Good. Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, just to add a little bit of background, but at operations, we did try to pursue options to this in terms of parking on one side or the other, and because of the grassy area, could they add, parking that way? And after all that deliberation, and the school system support, after all that, we decided this is the best approach and see where it goes.
Very good. Any other questions or comments? Okay, then I think we are ready to,
Mayor,
oh, yeah.
we do need to have the public hearing. You have to open it.
Oh, okay.
Justice.
That's right. It's the second reading, and so that means a public hearing. So if there's anyone here, either in person or online, from the public who would like to speak to this issue, if you have comments about the parking on East Burnett Street, now would be the time. Again, is there anyone who would like to come forward and speak to the issue of parking restrictions on East Burnett? Okay, seeing none, I'll call the public hearing closed. And now we're ready to vote.
Burnett,
Aye.
Burnett,
Aye.
Marie,
Aye.
Flaherty,
Aye.
Fisher,
Aye.
Gansky,
Aye.
Hiley,
Aye.
Keel,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Perkins,
Aye.
Wild,
Aye.
Yads,
Aye.
Zap.
Aye.
Very good. The ordinance carries. Next up, ordinance 7.
Ordinance number 7-2025, an ordinance amending section 62-50 parking restrictions of the Beaver Dam Municipal Code. This would be for Lincoln Street East of Prairie Street. This is a first reading.
Okay, since it's a first reading, I don't know if anyone wants to ask questions now or wait till the second reading. Todd, were you prepared to present?
Do you want me to intro that one now?
Yeah, might as well, in case anybody calls or has questions.
Right, so this is a similar situation. This is on Lincoln Street, which is over by Shoe Factory Apartments. It's not Lincoln Avenue, it's Lincoln Street. It's a 300-foot dead-end street. Again, we'll go through considerations, recommendations, next steps. So again, it's Lincoln Street. This street was actually resurfaced this year, which is why this kind of came to the forefront. It's a 24-foot wide street, which is enough room for 2 travel lanes. Right now, parking's currently permitted on the north side of the street. And ordinance restricts it on the south side. But in order to maintain 2 lanes of traffic out there, people have historically parked on the grass terrace, which creates a big mud hole and maintenance nightmare out there. This is what the situation looks like. You can see how people are slid over into the terrace. If they were out in the street, it really creates a little bit of a bottleneck there to get 2 cars by. Again, city staff's recommending that we restrict parking on both sides. We did look at their driveways out here. Each house has a longer driveway to fit multiple cars. But we would be restricting parking on both sides just to maintain 2 lanes of traffic. So as far as where we're at, we brought it through ops on October 6th. Had a pretty good discussion there, but at the end of the day, it went through unanimously. Decided to push it forward to public hearing. And all those residents will be notified of the public hearing for the next council meeting. So we're at the first reading tonight, and then November 3rd, we'd have the second reading and public hearing.
Okay, any questions for Todd? Alder Zopp?
Todd, when it was resurfaced, was curb put in along that side, or is it still a grass border with?
It's
no
still
curb?
grass.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Yes, Alder Flaherty.
I do remember the ops meeting, and it seems as though we did move it forward with consensus that property owners would be notified. Could I ask again, is that a letter? Do we send letters out for that notification?
Yes, so the letters go to everybody on that block.
Okay, so everybody will be notified with plenty of time to speak up.
Mhm.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Okay, good. And since it is the first reading, we need to take no action, correct? Yep. Okay, so that takes us to resolutions.
Resolution number 88-2025, a resolution approving an amendment to the professional services agreement between the City of Beaver Dam and ePlex LLC, doing business as ePlan Exam, to include review of variances.
Okay, and let's see, Chief Wesley, do you want to come on up? And you did such a nice job at admin. You get to do it again.
So the resolution in front of you would authorize the city to sign a contract amendment with ePlan Exam. For those of you that are not aware, ePlan currently provides plan review services for the city. If you're a developer and you want to build something in the city, you can either submit those plans to state of Wisconsin, or you can submit them to ePlan. The reason that we entered that contract with ePlan is they have a very quick turnaround time. They have industry experts. They're a great resource for us. And we collect a percentage of the submittal fees. So if somebody was going to submit a fee to the state for a plan to the state, and it was going to cost $500 to submit that plan, they have the option to continue doing that, or they can submit it to ePlan, and then we get 10% of those fees. So it's a process that helps speed up plan review so development can happen. And we've been doing that since 2023 with ePlan. This amendment would allow ePlan to do variance, or to gain variance delegation on our behalf. So if a developer comes in and there's something that in their plans doesn't comply with state code, they would request a variance. They can still submit it, even if we sign this contract, they can still submit it to the state if they elect to, or they can submit it to E-Plan. Again, the benefit to us is that we're going to collect a small fee. It's going to speed up the process of the review for that variance request. And unlike when we work with the state, we have a working relationship with E-Plan, and they will ask for a position statement on whether or not we actually support that variance request. So we have a little bit more leverage in that decision than we would if it was with the state. That's the amendment in a nutshell.
So why don't I get a motion in a second, then we can discuss.
I'll make a motion to pass.
Thank you. And a second?
Second.
Thank you, Alder Zopp. Questions or comments, questions for Chief Wesley? Alder Hiley?
Is this commonly used in other municipalities?
So we got on board as far as having E-Plan do our plan review fairly early. And I believe we would be the 4th or 5th in the state to be delegated with E-Plan. There's a handful of the larger municipalities that actually do this in-house. But we'd kind of be, one of the those at the forefront. One of the big drivers that we're asking for this now is the development up at Project Wave. We already did have one variance request through them, and E-Plan was able to get that variance approved through the state of Wisconsin on our behalf, but that is the only time that we can use that process. Now everything, unless we sign this, everything has to go through the state, so.
Good. Any other questions or comments? Alder Bonnet?
This will rank as one of the dumbest questions I could possibly ask. Why is the fire department involved in variances?
So I am
Of a
only.
full scope.
Yep.
plan?
So I would only be, in this case, I would only be involved if it was related to the fire code. And so in the event that we have a variance request that's part of our municipal code, so if it's a local fire code, I can authorize that variance. But if it's something for, the parameters are in here. So if it's over new construction over 50,000 cubic feet, that's going to go to the state, and they're gonna approve or not approve of, say, a sprinkler system. I really don't have a say in that. That's all going to go to the state. So in that context, that's why I'm involved. Part of this too is that we do have a building inspector, as you know. He's contracted, but this is even before our building inspector sees the plans. They still have to go to the state of Wisconsin and be reviewed. And so somebody has to look at them, they approve them, and then the building inspector will go out and make sure that the builder, the contractor is complying with those requirements. I don't know if I answered your question at all.
No, you have. I mean, so the demarcation between our building inspector and this program is ours only comes in to validate what was required is done. They don't determine it.
Not in every situation. It's going to depend on the size of the project. It's going to depend on what the code is. So again, if we're going back to a local code or ordinance, then that is something that can be reviewed by myself if it relates to fire protection system or part of the fire code. But if it's a code that relates more in the context of the building and the construction of the building, that wouldn't be my purview. I don't know if Todd, you have any insight on this or a better way to explain it? Not really? Okay. So.
Well, thanks for the clarification.
Good. Alder Burnett?
Thank you. I was just reading over the resolution, and it says that for the cost, the review of the variance is at the rate of $2,000 per variance. Is that completely paid for by the applicant, or does Beaver Dam have to throw in any?
No, with E-Plan, every service they provide for the city, they actually pay us. So the rest of our contract, I believe, says 10%. It does depend on I believe for the variance fee, that's what it would be, 10%. But when we're talking about plan reviews, it depends on what type of plan review they're submitting. So a plumbing review has a different percentage and amount than say a HVAC or plumbing for a sprinkler system. So there is a fee schedule for that.
So there is no budget impact.
No, we actually make money on this, and we don't make a lot of money, but it is just a small amount that supplements. So.
Thank you.
Good. Any other questions or comments? Okay, then I think we are ready to call the roll.
Burnett,
Aye.
Marie,
Aye.
Flaherty,
Aye.
Fisher,
Aye.
Gansky,
Aye.
Hiley,
Aye.
Keel,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Perkins,
Aye.
Wild,
Aye.
Yuds,
Aye.
Zop,
Aye.
Burnett.
Aye.
And the resolution carries. That brings us to resolution 89.
Resolution 89-2025, a resolution to accept an in-kind donation of solar arrays from Colliard Solar Foundation to the city of Beaver Dam.
And let's see, Larry, do you want to just give a summary of this one?
I'll do my best. This company many years ago developed a relationship with the city. They've put solar panels on the roof of our police station as well as our city hall. And in exchange, we get the power benefits, but they use the installation and took tax credit benefits. So when you install solar panels, you get a federal tax credit. And so they have used those tax credits. They've depreciated their equipment, and they're at a point where they have offered to gift those solar panels to the city. At this point, given the future of this building, I think what our best bet would be is to accept the donation and utilize any remaining panels once this building is no longer functioning to keep the panels at the police station continuing to flourish. So kind of using this building's panels to support the police station panels. At least that's been the discussion with the vendor who's donating the panels. Does anyone have questions?
Yeah,
Larry?
I'll do that.
So I remember that we were in a contract to pay this company for, like, we were renting them essentially or leasing them. Is that is terminated, right? They're gifting and there's no longer, we're not paying them for anything.
Yes,
anymore.
that's
Okay,
correct.
Perfect.
They would no longer own the panels. Once you approve this and we sign the document, they will accept the donation
Okay.
letter from us.
Thank you.
Good. Alder Wild?
I don't know much about solar panels. Is there maintenance on those, and would they still be responsible for that, or?
Well, we probably need to have a conversation about that. Technically, once they give the panels to you, it would be your responsibility. And technically, there is probably some maintenance expense. But what I'm proposing to you today is that perhaps the city doesn't need to maintain those much longer, but rather when one stops working, we simply unplug that one.
Okay,
And whatever's left when this building is no longer needed for the city gets used to fill in for whatever is damaged at the police station.
okay.
It's kind of an opportunity for us to consolidate 2 solar arrays into one to keep the functioning one still productive.
Okay, thank you, Larry.
Good. Any other questions for Larry? Oh, go ahead.
Did I see something in the literature that they're valuing this at 130-some thousand?
Yes. Would you like me to get the number?
So will that be a tax write-off for them?
I can't speak to their taxes. I would anticipate that's their plan, but I can't, I'm not a tax advisor. I'm not an attorney. I can't say what they're planning to do with that.
So you don't get a cut out of that?
No.
Good. Any other questions? Then I think we need a motion. Alder Burnett.
I'll make a motion to approve the amendment to the professional services. Oh, wait, sorry.
We're on the next one.
Yeah, for the in-kind donation of the solar panels, sorry.
And can I get a second? Alder Wild?
I will second that motion.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, I guess we're ready to call the roll.
Marie,
Aye.
Flaherty,
Aye.
Fisher,
Aye.
Gansky,
Aye.
Hiley,
Aye.
Keel,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Perkins,
Aye.
Wild,
Aye.
Yads,
Aye.
Zap,
Aye.
Burnett,
Aye.
Burnett.
Aye.
So the resolution carries. Finally, our last resolution for the evening, Resolution 90.
Resolution 90-2025, a resolution granting a Class A license to Beaver Dam Mart, Inc., doing business as BP Mart.
And Tracy, do you want to just explain
Oh, sure.
who we're talking about here?
This is Jerry's Marathon. They are in the process of selling. So this is the new owner that has to apply for a new license. Jerry's will relinquish their license to us upon the final of the sale.
Okay, so can I get a motion? Alder Olson,
Approve as presented, please.
thank you. And a second, Alder Gansky.
I'll second that motion.
Any discussion? Then we are ready to call the roll.
Flaherty,
Aye.
Fisher,
Aye.
Yansky,
Aye.
Hiley,
Aye.
Keel,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Perkins,
Aye.
Wild,
Aye.
Yads,
Aye.
Zap,
Aye.
Burnett,
Aye.
Burnett,
Aye.
Marie.
Aye.
Resolution carries, and that brings us to the draft budget presentation.
All right. Good evening. Should be fairly painless as there really weren't many adjustments since we met at the budget workshop. Todd, you can go to the next slide. So we'll just go through the general fund budget again, looking at the revenue and expenditures. I did include the same summaries for the utility budgets for tonight. We'll go back through the new requests and what changes came from that. We'll review the CIP program budget and then also talk about the proposed fee schedule. So here's just basically looking at the revenues by kind of a category of purpose. You'll notice that the property tax increase of 565,000 largely contributes to the additional debt levy that we have relating to the unfunded liability that we took out with the state trust fund last year. 2026 will be the first required payment for that. And so the majority of that makes up that. It was about 417,000 in the additional debt levy. We also had some chargebacks for some assessments that were incorrect. There was one for Meadowcraft. So we get to correct that and then charge back the other taxing jurisdictions, as well as a Walmart settlement, and the same goes for that. There's about 6,000 that we can increase our levy based on the annexed properties from the town of Beaver Dam and the town of Trenton. And then about the 78,000 represents what our allowable levy is based on the increase of net new construction. The other taxes, the majority of that increase is just the anticipated quarterly room tax that we receive. We've been seeing some larger trends with that, and so we adjusted that for 26. Shared revenue increase, that reflects what that was. We got those numbers that came in. Since the budget workshop, we had our transportation aids come back in, and so you can see the increase in our transportation and road aids there. Other state aids, that largely represents the new funding source for the fire department. That was that ground emergency medical transport aid that we talked about a little bit at the budget workshop as well. I believe we're receiving our first payment yet in 25 for which year again? For 23, but we received it this year, right? Yep. And then we're supposed to be getting 24 here shortly too, correct? Yep. And then as far as licenses and permits, just some increases for some additional building permits that we anticipate with the number of projects that we have in 26. Penalties and forfeitures, a lot of that is just related to the court revenue. We've been seeing more historically that that's been trending down, so we've adjusted for that for 26. charges for service, our fire department revenue has been up over the last few years. So just kind of again following kind of that historical trend and anticipating what we'd see in 26, as well as some additional costs for the school resource officers. So that is something that we charge the school district for. So you see that in that category. And then the decrease in the miscellaneous largely just attributes to how we were recognizing some of our revenue and expenditures. If you recall last year's conversation, when we had that kind of pause in the expenditure restraint, we built in some additional revenue and expenses by recognizing proceeds coming in and then transferring it out to our CIP for road maintenance. In one of the discussions through the league, we didn't necessarily have to attribute it to anything. And so needing to utilize some of that, I'm moving the revenue and expenditure for that borrowing back into the CIP where it belongs. And we've essentially built in a revenue and expense for expenditure restraint that's basically a hold. So we can kind of continue to use that until it's gone. Next slide. This is looking at expenditures by wages, benefits, operations, debt service, transfers. Again, not a lot of change since the budget workshop. You can see that there's an increase in wages, largely attributing to the police and fire contracts that were passed, as well as a 4% cost of living adjustment as a whole. The benefits increase largely attributes to the insurance rates that have gone up. And then also you'll see an impact to the wage increases based on payroll taxes. There's going to be additional costs with that. Operations, 5% increase across the board, or I shouldn't say across the board, but a 5% increase largely just attributes to what we're seeing for inflation across all departments. Debt service, again, just that debt service payment for that state trust fund loan that we took out last year. And then that decrease in the transfers, again, is reflecting just that change in accounting and how we're recognizing that and holding for expenditure restraint. Next slide. This is looking at expenditures by function. Really kind of went through the majority of this as well. Again, not a lot changed from the budget workshop. You can kind of see the larger increases were really that fire and rescue and police, again, related to those contracts that passed. And then just some inflationary costs for, we saw that salt went up and gravel, things like that for public works. The other public services is going to be, again, that transfer, and then debt service, again, that state trust fund loan. Next slide. So then if we look at what that budget tax impact is, so Accurate Appraisal gave us the median value of a home for 25. So you can see that's about a 9.6% increase. We have our interim rate without the TID, that's slightly going down for 25. And then the estimated mill rate with the TID built in is also slotted to go down by a little bit. A lot of that just contributes to the ratio of our equalized value. And our equalized value did go up pretty significantly. So that's what's kind of driving that mill rate back down. However, when we look at it from a tax levy standpoint, it does look like we're slotted to see a potential increase for some residents based on those assessed values going up. Now, again, if your assessed value did not go up above that average, you might not see an increase. So it just really kind of depends on your individual household. But that's what we're looking at for a median household. Here's a similar slide to last year, just looking at the mill rate comparisons for other communities. We're kind of a light blue. It's kind of got like a little bit of a dome curve. It's a little hard to see from here, but you can see that we are still trending down. Next slide. Moving into the utilities, this is just a snapshot looking at their revenues and expenses. So you can see The increase in revenue for the water utility, remember we went through a full rate case at the beginning of 25 that was implemented in. So we're seeing the impact in that, as well as then being able to budget for a full calendar year with that. We knew that that was not going to hit for the first billing quarter. And so we had only budgeted for 3/4 of a year last year. Other than that, not a whole lot of changes for the utility. But you can definitely see the impact of that rate case study and how we're able to cash flow a little bit better. Next. Same for the wastewater utility. Again, we had that 5% increase last year. This is also attributing for a 5% increase this year. The additional percentage in the change is again just looking at a full billable year for those wages versus 3/4 of a year that we billed for last year or budgeted for last year. Again, not a whole lot of changes amongst the other expenses, so not a whole lot to comment on here. Stormwater revenue increase that we have slotted is 5% as well for 2025. And pretty simple across the board for this one as well. The solid waste utility, we had a little bit larger of an increase last year to catch us back up for the way it was cash flowing. This year, we're just proposing a 2% increase, really just covering for the contracted services increase that we see every year. So you have an increase in the revenue, a little bit of an increase in the operations based on that contract, and just additional costs for staff and things of the like. As far as the new budget requests, a few things to comment on. I did remove out the radio system upgrades. That was one that we had discussed at the budget workshop that was not really a request for 26, or at least a realistic one with so many uncertainties as far as what the county is going to do with that. So I did officially remove that here, but we did still want to make you aware that that is something that's likely coming in the future. We discussed at the budget workshop that the library board had agreed to pay for the library window replacement out of their fund balance. I do believe the intention is to continue to look for other grant funding, but aside from that, they're willing to pay for that out of that fund balance. I do believe that there is also some potential other funding for the tornado siren and the dive equipment replacement that we're still looking in. So obviously these will be things that we can currently fit into our debt issuance for next year, but we'll continue to look for other funding sources in the meantime and evaluate that when it comes time to doing our debt issuance in the spring. Really no changes to the utility new requests. We did build in that city administrator, or that, excuse me, the administrative assistant position to really assist them with the increased reporting that they'll likely see, and just other office needs so that the utility staff can focus on what they do best. And then you can see that really it's just a lot of it is attributed to a bunch of lift station upgrades. This is just kind of giving an overview of the general CIP. Really not much has changed here since the budget workshop, other than moving out those library windows from debt service to other funding. But you can kind of see the breakdown by category. And that we still are we're under that 4 million threshold that we had kind of said that we want to stick to. The fee schedule, a few years ago, we developed a comprehensive fee schedule and we decided that that was something we wanted to review annually. There really weren't too many modifications for this year, a few adjustments to the library schedule that the library board had passed. And then besides that, really just the inflationary increases for the utilities. We did not qualify for a simplified water rate case because we just went through the full rate case. So we're just proposing 5% for wastewater and 5% for stormwater, and then 2% for solid waste. And then what we'll do is then in the spring of next year, once we have completed our audit, Jeremy and I will work with Ellers in looking at that PSC math to see, to determine whether or not we qualify for a simplified then for an increase in 27. And then here kind of looks at those utility rates and what the impact is on a quarterly and annual basis. So that 5% sewer, this would be for residential, looking at an average of 16 units, which is probably a little on the higher end of an average, but quarterly they'd see about a $3.72 impact, and then on an annual basis, just shy of $15. As far as stormwater, again, this is going to be for residential only. See a quarterly impact of $1.10 and a yearly impact of $4.40. And solid waste, for those that qualify, would see a quarterly impact of $1.01 and an annual impact of $4.04. So ultimately, an annual impact of just shy of $25. So next steps, Larry and I are still working on looking into the salary wage study and looking at how we can implement that. We did build in up to $200,000 to be able to implement for 26. So just looking at what that final dollar is to fully implement and then how we're going to phase that in for staff over the next few years. We'll be publishing the draft budget for November 1st, and then we'll have a public hearing and final adoption during the second meeting in November on the 17th. Any questions?
Yeah, thank you, Kayla. Thank you very much. What questions do you have for Kayla? Yeah, Alder Burnett.
Thanks. The sewer fund is 5% increase. I see. Does do the outside community or outside the municipality of Beaver Dam that are using our sewers, are they going to see an increase, or is that a contract for so many years? Or
There's a surcharge for the non-residents, and so they'd see that same impact, that same increase.
for the town of Burnett, for the trailer park and
Well, the
some
town
other
of
place?
Burnett, yeah, they have not come online yet.
Okay,
But they would be following whatever rates are for when they connect. So their connection fees have been increasing as the years have gone past for whenever they do come online.
all right, thanks.
Yep.
Alder Zopp?
So Taylor or Jeremy, the 5% that we set for the increase, does that follow PSC math? I guess I'm just making sure that we don't get ahead of it. So if we go for a rate case and they tell us, I mean, could we have to lower our rates? I mean, how is that 5% set? And is that 5% within the PSC's metrics, I guess?
So the PSC does not have jurisdiction over the sewer, only water and electric, which we don't do electric in-house. So they only have a say in our water rates. Sewer rates, stormwater rates, solid waste rates are things that you guys can set as a body.
So I must have misunderstood this. So
We're not
we're
increasing
not
the water
increasing
rate.
water. That was
Correct.
just sewer. Okay.
Yeah,
fair.
yeah, we had a large increase last year with the full rate case.
Okay.
The idea with the simplifieds is that they're really inflationary. So when you go back out to do another full rate case, then you don't see those large increases that occur.
Right. Okay. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Mhm.
Good. Any other questions? Alder Olson?
We're looking into hiring an HR person. Have we also looked into potentially, instead of hiring somebody, use an outside consulting service, someone we can contract with? Has that been an option that we've gone after at all? Reason I say that is because anytime we hire someone on, right, that's an employee, that's a lifetime thing. When we contract in, that's why we contracted a lawyer, right? Our attorney services, because it gives us some flexibility, allows us to kind of work with it. I mean, we're always going to be paying the money, but it's a whole different life cycle when it comes to having a professional in there. So just curious if that's a role we've gone down.
Yeah, I mean, not that I'm necessarily aware of, Larry, if you want to weigh in on thoughts on that.
Sure, I certainly can. You know, the HR staffing is certainly an option that we could have conversations about. At this time, the requests from department heads and the conversations have all been about hiring someone who can be available when we have meetings and when we have questions. Obviously, a consultant could be the same, but you'd be billed based on how much you use that person as opposed to having someone on staff available all the time. You know, there are positives and negatives to everything, and, you know, this is certainly something we could have a discussion about at perhaps one of the committee meetings.
Personally, if it was, even if there were a little bit more, I feel like the long-term benefit of having someone you're contracting with over someone who is hired, that you eventually have to pay retirement spend to, they're positives to that. Yeah.
And just, I know I've been in on some of the conversations talking about this potential hire, and one of the things we did talk about is the fact that when it comes to an HR specialist, which is what we're thinking it will be labeled as, not versus like a department head or something higher, it would be a specialist, is when it comes to HR, there's one of their tasks has to do with creating culture and getting to know staff and maintaining a level of privacy, but also knowledge and approachability with staff, which you may not be able to achieve with a contracted person who is not here full-time. But we have had those discussions, so. We feel like with HR, there's maybe some considerations that are a little different because HR specialist will be expected to interact with all departments and both elected and hired staff members. But we've talked about it and we can continue to look at options. So, good. And other questions or comments? Anything about the budget? Yeah, Aldersop?
So I was looking through just kind of what caught my eye was a whole bunch of zeros from 2023 to 2026. Boat launch violation forfeitures.
Yeah, so I have not seen any of those come through.
Do we not enforce in Beaver Dam?
We used to have kind of like a memorandum of understanding with the Beaver Dam Lake Improvement Association, right? It was an MOU. Where they were kind of monitoring that program. They would go out to the launch sites, they would empty out the boxes, collect the fees. And I believe he would also be checking vehicles when he was out there. I can't necessarily speak to how it's being used or handled currently. We did switch to the kiosks because the Lake Improvement Association had said that they were not interested in continuing to do that service. So they had actually given back the city funds from previous years. We purchased the kiosks and now that's kind of a little bit more self-sufficient. So I'm not sure if, I can't speak, Kreitzinger is not here to talk if they patrol that or not, but.
So you're saying that they gave up the duty of collecting and monitoring, so we have nobody handling monitoring is what it sounds.
I can't speak to if the police department is doing that during, while they're out on patrol. I'm not sure.
All right, thank you.
Good. Any other questions or comments? Okay, thank you very much, Kayla. We appreciate it. And since there was no action required, we're going to move on to item number 6, which is we will enter into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin Statute 19.85 1E, deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investment of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session, and more specifically to discuss negotiations related to potential 151 Business Park Development project. So can I get a motion to go into closed session? Alder Burnett? Thank you. In a second, Alder Perkins?
I'll second.
Thank you very much. All those in favor, oh wait, do we need a voice vote for that? Okay, so we'll take the roll.
Fisher,
Aye.
Gansky,
Aye.
Kylie. Aye. Keel,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Perkins,
Aye.
Wild. Aye. Yads,
Aye.
Sop,
Aye.
Bonnet,
Aye.
Burnett,
Aye.
Marie,
Aye.
Flaherty.
Aye.
So we will go into closed session.